before this that you felt like you got roped into this one.
Yeah, I didn't get roped into it. I was just flat out told this is what you're doing. I had no agency in this whatsoever.
By you, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, when you said, I'd like to do this, you then said, so we said on the, will you really do it? And you said, yeah. And Mikey will do it too.
Listen, all I hear from you, you're a grown man that you basically go against what I say all the time now. Why all of a sudden are you listening to me?
I mean, it wasn't just you. So you made that decision that set the wheels in motion to where everyone in the show staff just started coming at me about this. I'm getting calls in the middle of the week from Ray Netchie, who works on this show, which is a number that I did not imagine or anticipate seeing pop up on my phone late on a Tuesday night. But here we are. So you got everyone else. It was this pack mentality. And I said, you guys have turned into bullies. You guys got 2 weeks left on the show, and all of a sudden you think you can just make everyone do everything. And it started with Dan Le Batard, and it's clearly carried over to me.
Let the record show I had nothing to do with the one-chip challenge. The massaging of Stu Gatz, I think I probably did help
you magnified.
You
were the chief masseuse.
In some way. I just own the parlor. Yeah. I'm not doing any of the massaging, but I definitely will.
We have a name for those kind of guys.
And we do. Receipts. Let's not use that on the air. Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pinto Performance Line. Okay, let's get to some sports here. We got a million things to get to today. Let's start with whether or not one NFL coach has lost his team. And that NFL coach is Ben McAdoo, and the team, of course, is the New York Football Giants. Our Josina Anderson, who's extremely plugged in on a lot of things with a lot of players around the National Football League, had some very interesting reports from Giants camp yesterday, and I think I have them here. Let me play it for you. Here's Josina telling you what she has heard from several players on the Giants roster.
There was a Giants player who wishes to remain anonymous, reached out to me and said this unsolicited at the time, this being last week, saying, quote, McAdoo has lost his team. He's got us going 80% on Saturday before we get on the plane to play a game. It's wild. Changed our off day. He's dishing out fines like crazy. Suspended 2 of our stars when we need them the most. Throws us under the bus all the time. He's run us into the ground, and people wonder why we've been getting got. And then I also heard from another Giants player who said unsolicited, guys are giving up on the season and nothing's being done. Guys just don't care anymore.
So that's Josina Anderson yesterday. Guys, your reaction?
Well, I mean, I think you know where I'm going to go here. Listen, I've been in locker rooms that have been in disarray, but I'm tired of the anonymous player sitting there telling me, oh, I confess it's his fault. You know, you go on the field. You line up to not make your block. You miss the tackle. You don't do what you're supposed to do on the field. You want to say it's the coaching staff. I get it's all a team thing and you're all part of it. I understand that. But my God, you don't sound like you're taking any responsibility at all. Oh, we're not, no guys are trying anymore. It's the coach's fault because he doesn't get us motivated or works us too hard. And just shut up. I mean, to me, it's embarrassing. Landon Collins, the Giant safety, disputes what these players have said. He said McAdoo has been leading the same way he led last year when they had, 11 wins, correct? Last I checked?
10 or 11, yeah.
10 or 11 wins.
Playoffs for sure.
Way more than last year, right? Landon Collins said, so I don't knock the way he's been doing things. Fining people like crazy? If you don't follow the rules, you get in trouble because you got to pay the consequences. I wouldn't say he lost the team. I have the utmost respect for him. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, who was one of the players suspended, said basically the same thing. I don't think this locker room is lost. And so they go the other way. And like anything else, it's probably somewhere in the middle. But, Greeny, you know me and this anonymous garbage that goes on. I got to get on this. The one player here, I got to find the quote. Just the way I'm reading this, the other anonymous player also said, I'm going to keep it 100. I'm going to tell it like it is, and it's terrible. Oh, are you going to keep it 100, Mr. Anonymous? Good job out of you, Mr. I'm not going to say my name, but I'm going to keep it real. That's embarrassing. You're an embarrassment right now to that locker room and the anonymous comments you're making. Go out there and play. It's not going well this year. Don't blame a coach because your ass ain't getting it done on the field. This aggravates me, Mike, more than anything else in the world when you get the anonymous person complaining the way they do and blaming somebody else for what's going wrong on the field. I didn't want to get this aggravated this early in the morning, but that's one of the things that really teased me off.
Did you get it all out?
I did.
I wanted to make sure you wrung all that out right now. You're holding on to a lot of stress. It was in your shoulders.
Well, I got the massage thing hanging over my head. The chip in a couple hours.
No,
so
I get it.
If that was a little harsh, maybe it was a little harsh, but you know me. Listen. all kidding aside, I hate the anonymous garbage. I hate it. And it sounds like you're blaming somebody else for your problems. Is McAdoo part of the problem and what's going on? Absolutely. But you know what? Take some ownership into what's going on in that field.
And all of that, I feel like, can be put in the pile of, yes, absolutely. Everyone's got to own up to their portion of this. But if we're looking at the situation that's been pointed out here and removing the party that's bringing us the information and taking an honest assessment of how you're leading and what you're doing in all this, I think there's a way to do it. Like, you've got a team that's spiraling a bit right now, and you probably see players looking around saying, all right, how do we get that group back in? Because the sentiment of these comments seems to be that guys are disinterested, guys aren't holding up there, and not necessarily the guys that are even coming out with these anonymous comments, but something they're observing. Guys aren't being held accountable, and the leadership in place isn't holding them accountable, and that starts with the head coach on most teams. You can look at other places, and you can say, well, look at the Miami Dolphins, comparatively not even in as dire straits record-wise as a team, but you've got Adam Gase shipping guys off to other places, sitting guys down, rattling cages a little bit. We've heard him very publicly and very sternly chastising his team for the way that they've performed. And so maybe there's some of these guys looking around and saying, man, that's what this locker room could use a little bit of. Now, you could say that locker rooms should be led by the players, and most truly great locker rooms are. They have that coming from within. But for a team that's young in a lot of places, that seems to have, they brought a lot of that talent in from the outside last year, so it's not homegrown guys that have been around that locker room and maybe have the pulse for a long time, and a lot of their veteran players are injured and hurt, a lot of their best ones. I don't think you can discount what they're saying, but I agree the method of delivery is always something that kind of raises an eyebrow because it excuses you from all blame.
100% agree with you. 100% agree about what they're saying. You can understand. I just hate the message. Because as Josina was reading those quotes from the players, right? Tell me somewhere in the quote where that player said, it's on all of us. I didn't hear that. Didn't hear that part of it, right? So, yes, it could be a mess in that locker room. I completely agree. Do I think McAdoo's job is done there? Absolutely. I think it's going to be done there. And it is in disarray in that locker room. And I'm sure those anonymous players were telling the truth partially to what the problem is. But I can't stand the fact when it's all about somebody else. And listen, I don't like it anyway when you're talking out of school like that as far as I'm concerned, just saying the locker room. But at least I would have had a little more for the anonymous person if they had at least said, you know what, I don't think he's a good leader right now, but it's on all of us because we have to step up and play as well. I didn't hear any of that. All I heard is, I swear, I confess he did it, not me. And that's what aggravates me. It aggravates me, the anonymous. It aggravates me talking out of school, out of the locker room. And it aggravates me when you don't wear the hat of some responsibility. Because you can have the worst game plan in the world, but you're still out there in one-on-one battles that you can try and win.
For the anonymous piece of it, this doesn't necessarily make it any better, but I did hear, I was actually watching when Josina was on one of the shows. She was on a bunch of shows with this reporting yesterday. She said that one of the players involved, I think it was that quote, he didn't want his name attached to it for fear it would affect his playing time. It doesn't sound to me like that was a star player, meaning someone who would then be disciplined or whatever.
You don't even have to say that. That's exactly why it isn't. It's anonymous for a reason.
Right.
They don't want any repercussions from it. That's the reason.
Let me ask you a question, Mikey, because you were on a team, and again, you were a kid, right? But you're in college. When what proved to be Charlie Weiss's last year, when it was loss after loss after loss, and it was a very high-profile thing because it was Notre Dame and it was Charlie and everything else. Obviously, you remember what I'm talking about, and Mike and I remember it, and he wound up getting fired at the end of that year. And the losses kept piling up. What was that like inside there? Because the whole world wants to know what's going on with Charlie. Now, as a college player, you're a little more insulated from media and all that kind of stuff. But was there some of this stuff? Was there this kind of splintering? Was there the coaches lost the team kind of thing?
No, there was frustration. And I mean, you certainly saw that start to boil over. But that happens anytime you're losing, even in the best franchises when things are going well. I mean, I remember early on when I was in training camp with the Steelers, they had just come off a couple of disappointing seasons. And you could tell it was a noticeably ornery Mike Tomlin, who had been used to winning and been used to their standard, but was upset, and it was a more physical training camp, you're hearing from the veterans because of that. And so, yeah, there were I don't want to say blow-ups, but there was certainly tension in there, frustration at times. There's never a loss of the locker room that I can point back to. There are still plenty of guys, and still plenty of guys now that love Charlie and talk to him all the time. But the difference is you also see the writing coming on the wall, and there might be some of that in New York right now where you just know where this is going. You know, we're not dumb in all of this, and you can read. We knew after a certain point, and there was even a certain game I remember in that season where it might have been Stanford when we went out there, and it was either our last or second to last game, when you start to realize, like, this might be it with your relationship with this person in a player or coach setting, and everyone feels the energy. It robs the energy of that group when you know going into the year, all right, this is kind of a make or break year, and once you start to feel it break, it becomes tough to just keep that morale going, and that seems to be what begets situations like this, where you've got differing opinions and differing factions throughout the locker room.
Absolutely right. And then it really kind of falls on where are the leaders in the locker room? Because the one thing you want to do is you want to get guys together and say, okay, let's keep this in-house. This doesn't need to be getting out anywhere. It's going bad right now. What happens is players start to play a little more for themselves, saying, okay, that coach is not going to be there. I'm playing to get good tape to make sure I have a job here or somewhere else. Those are the things that start to happen. But I'm sorry. I just can't deal with the anonymous, it's somebody else's fault situation. When everything there may be going on, just like it is. But still, you're on the field. You have a say in what's going on. So take part of your responsibility as well.
You have no reason to be sorry. You were Carolina Reaper Pepper hot 3 hours before taking the challenge.
Got a headache now.
The Golics are here. They're ready to roll. Coming up next, the one thing billions of dollars cannot buy, plus a movie review, plus much more on a Thursday with Mike and Mike after this word from AutoZone. And you know what, guys?